up, y'all? Welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Queen Faith here, and before we get started on this review, go ahead and hit the subscribe button for me and join us over on this channel. Reviews aren't something common, but since it's Black History Month, I felt like this was the perfect thing to do. So, if y'all have not watched American Skin, I don't know if the only place you can find this on Amazon Prime, but I've seen it on Amazon Prime. If you have not watched it and you're one of those people that are like, oh, don't spoil it for me, click off, okay? And come back. Let's talk about it. You're going to want to talk about it after you watched it. But, y'all, usually people have this whole, oh, we tired of, seeing these same stories over and over and over again. But I feel like American Spin was like the perfect spin. American Skin was like the perfect spin to put on something like this. Like, we know police brutality happens a lot. We know that Black people's dealing with the police are a little bit different than other people's dealing with police. But this, the way they handled it, and like I said, if you have not watched it and you don't want me to spoil it, click off. So, we go into the movie. There's this young boy, and you can tell he's always been encouraged to, find out more information, be more knowledgeable. Even if it wasn't his parents, it was somebody that was, basically encouraging him to increase his knowledge. So he had all this information about the different laws and stuff. I think one of his friends, they were on a call or something, and one of his friends said something about how you can't resist arrest or how you're supposed to act around police. And he basically said, actually, based off of such and such and such, you can. And his daddy was right there, and he's like, okay, you're right, but you're wrong. Like, on paper, this is what you can do, but it doesn't apply to you. But his son wasn't trying to hear that. Until you've experienced some things and all you have is, this knowledge of the law, you don't understand what he's trying to say. But your daddy really trying to save your life here. So what happened, that was actually a flashback. But what happened was, excuse me, the son was shot by the police officer. He was pulled over. The dad and the son were riding in just a regular car. And I guess they were in a nice neighborhood. They were not speeding, as was shown later on in the movie. And they were pulled over. Now, the dad pulled out a dated insurance card. But he said he could get a new one. And he was like, no, step out the vehicle. So the dad, who was played by Nate Parker, by the way, amazing actor. The dad stepped out the vehicle doing whatever, and the son automatically picked up his phone and start recording. Now, there were two officers, one on the dad's side, one on the son's side. And the officer on the son's side was basically, he was up here. Like, even though he said he has a phone, he did not care. Like, so all that went on, son ended up dead. The father was trying to tell his son the whole time, don't, be quiet. Go ahead and just, let's de-escalate the situation. The police weren't about to. But the son wasn't listening because he has all this knowledge, right? He ends up dead. Now, y'all, what was a huge thing for me that I never really understood was what happened between the mom and the dad. So the dad ended up at his people's house with his brother, who, by the way, was played by Omari Hardwick, better known as Ghost from Power. He was at the house with his people, and his wife was with the other people. So they get to the point where this thing goes to trial, and y'all know what happened. The police officer was basically, let go, free. There were no charges brought against him. And that made the community upset. They're like, wait a minute. How, how it always gets when the police officer kills an unarmed child, man, whoever it is. So there were all types of riots and whatnot going on. And the police commissioner, sheriff, whoever he was a black man. And I don't know if they wanted him to be a coon or if in every situation this thing happens that they just real coonish. But he just up here, he was like, yeah, there were no reason to bring charges, la-di-da-di-da. Basically back in the blue. He then comes to the mama because they writing and doing all type of stuff. And he has her to give a statement out to the people. Now, this is what I don't agree with. Number one, do not ask the victim's family to fix the problem that you caused. Like, you killed my son. You said you were innocent of it. But you want me to bring the peace back? No, that's not how it's going to work. But what did she do? Like, it was a little Wonder Boy cousins or something. He was in it. He was like, no, she ain't finna do this, da-da-da-da-da-da. She ended up doing it. Y'all know what happened if y'all watching it. The daddy kidnapped the little sheriff man, took over the police station, and he conducted a trial. And the people on the jury ended up being the prisoners, and a couple people who were just there. I think one lady was there, and it was because she was paying a parking ticket or something. Sis, you should have did that online. It's 2021. But whatever. Can you not pay those online? I don't know. I'll be getting them. But they had a trial. And there was one guy who was on the force, and he was apparently Hispanic. And there was a Latina lady on the force as well. And you could tell by the way she was interacting that she was feeling what was going on. So he was like, okay, since the court said you ain't gonna be tried, we're gonna try you. And so he asked the questions, and it was so funny because he allowed anybody to talk. And I think that helped out a lot. Like, it's so funny. There was a lady in there who served on the jury before, and she ended up being the foreman. And she said, regardless of what we think the consequences are, because he at that time hadn't told him, he said he didn't know. She said, regardless of what the consequences are, we have to conduct this as if it was a real trial. And they did. And something that came out. So the dude actually finally admitted, one, something very crazy. He said they are not trained to de-escalate a situation. So as soon as he pulled his gun out and had it trained on the boy, he said they're trained to not de-escalate. So he was always supposed to keep that gun out, regardless of whether he found out he ain't have nothing but a paper airplane. He trained to, hey, be on go. And that's bad training. Like, I understand you have a very, very, very risky job, but at the same time, as soon as you find out nothing's going on, everybody should be putting guns away. Because if you already went to 10 and then nothing's going on, then you can easily be triggered and accidentally shoot somebody, right? 2, he admitted that they profiled, because the whole thing was, yeah, it was going 45 and a 25. And they never produced the reading. They did not know what speed he was going. And then showing the video, y'all, he had to have been going 20 miles per hour, talking about going 45. And finally, after so many questions and so much pressure, the dude said, you didn't belong there. He just like, you were not supposed to be there that time of night. You weren't supposed to be in that neighborhood, da-da-da-da. And the truth comes out. You profiled him, and the Hispanic officer beside him said, well, if he would have just did what he was supposed to do, he'd still be alive. But in reality, had you not profiled him because he did not commit a crime, he would still be alive. Something that definitely should not have happened in the movie that happened was apparently one of the members of the jury, he had gotten beat up. I guess whenever he came in, the police officers had roughed him up real good. And one of the police officers was in there. So when he got the opportunity, he rushed them. And when that happened, one of the guys went off and sent him back. It was like, okay, that's it for you. And in the process of that happening, the police officer took the gun and shot somebody. Now, this whole time, they didn't shoot anybody. Like, they were just talking, trying to conduct the trial. Like, all this was recorded. And they didn't shoot anybody. But he shot somebody. He shot his granddaddy or his uncle or whoever it was. And I guess it was just a flesh wound. That made it seem like he was okay. But I feel like that whole part was unnecessary. But as far as everything else, it's really interesting to see, okay, the dude was upset. He said he didn't want the jury to be what the jury was because it wasn't people that looked like them. But when you think about the people who hand down these judgments, you think about the members of the jury in these trials, they aren't people that look like us the majority of the time. So he was like, we deal with it all the time, so suck it up. And so they handed back the guilty verdict. And really and truly, I thought he was going to shoot him. That thing was the right thing to do. No, I did not think it was the right thing for him to shoot him. He had him call his son and his wife. And he basically had he was dead because he was on there crying. He was like, y'all, it was ugly. But they were upset. And he was like, no, you can't. Y'all know how people be, y'all. So what happened is he pulled the trigger, pop, nothing came out. And basically what he said is he wanted him to know what it felt like to be in that situation. I guess it's like, okay, whenever y'all come and y'all pull us over for no reason, this is the feeling that we have. Now I just showed you what that feeling is. That feeling of fear, that feeling of not having any control over anything. And it was really an eye-opening thing for the police officer. Like, by the end, well, this was the end, he was like, man, like he really understood it. So the ending, I'm upset they shot him. Just getting right to it. I'm upset they shot him because they didn't have to shoot that man. Y'all shooting him means, regardless of what he did, even though they told him unarmed, none of that, they just pop. They shoot him in the head. I think they shot him in the head. And it's like, y'all right there, judge, jury, executioner, all in one. It ain't that, okay, he was in there shooting people, because he ain't shoot nobody. That was really just kidnapping charge, and he was taking all of it. So the police officer was walking out with him and everything. But nope, they had a sniper take him out. And that just shows that as much as you claim, okay, we gonna use the system to determine right and wrong, you only use it when it's fitting for you. So when the police officer did the wrong, you were like, oh, well, yeah, this is how we gonna handle it. We gonna see what they say. Well, they said that he innocent and no charges should be brought. So, oh, well, we use the system. But then when it comes to this black man whose son y'all killed, who has been going through all types of stuff because he lost his son and there's literally nothing he can do, when he goes and he conducts his own trial and y'all decide, nope, no judge, jury, none of that. We go straight to the execution. Because y'all have already decided that him kidnapping that building of people made him worthy of death. And even after he didn't harm anyone, it was in reality the police officer that harmed somebody. That's what y'all choose to do. So there was so much going on in this movie. If you did not watch it, you need to watch it. It was so good. Very, very, very good movie. Even if you didn't watch it and you listen to my review, you probably know I was all over the place. But yeah, it was so good. Make sure you leave a like. Make sure you subscribe to my channel. and comment. Let me know what your thoughts were on the movie.